video number 2. We're gonna jump into a little class review. And I know we've done classes review before, but that's how important classes are, because you're going to see them for the rest of your life, so it doesn't hurt to review it again. We'll take out the unreachable quote question from last time. Alright, so we have these two classless functions, and we were just playing around with that. We can comment them out for now. And I just wanted to go over the anatomy of a, notice that once we comment them out, it screams at us because these functions don't exist, and so it says, hey buddy, you're calling functions that don't exist. That doesn't make sense. So we can take those out too. All right. So I wanted to go over the anatomy of a function, and I think it will make a lot of sense now. So we'll go step by step, and we'll create our ball class again one last time, so that it's imbibed in your mind. So hang out with this, go to your notes, update them, make a cheat sheet out of how to make a class. This is your chance to really solidify it now that you've done it a few times, right? Okay, so let's start at the beginning. How do we make a class in processing? Well, we just come down here and we say new tab? Is that right? Oh, yeah, we say new tab. And we call it ball. We want to call it the same file as what the class is inside. In Java world, we call it ball.java. Here in processing, it's PDE world, so we can just call it ball. We start with the idea that it's a public class ball, and we typically capitalize classes. I don't know if I said that officially before, but we should say that now. All right, so public class ball is a cookie cutter, and the second we do this, we can create ball objects. Okay, right now the ball object doesn't have anything inside it, so if I create a ball object, which I'm completely allowed to do, ball my ball, all right, it'll say, okay, that means you're referring to this over here, okay? But if I try to initialize this ball object, it will use something equals new ball, okay? It will use something called this default constructor, and all the default constructor will do will give it space for its private variables or state variables. Right now, there's no state variables or private variables. So this actually looks like nothing in memory. There's no slots for integers or anything. It's just something called a ball that doesn't have anything inside of it. Remember that one of the things that we're getting from doing this is that we're able to group together a bunch of variables that are all related. So before, we used to have 6 variables just floating out here, and we named them ball 1 width and ball 1 height, or like my ball width, my ball height, my ball position x, my ball position y, my ball velocity x, my ball velocity y. All right, and then all of that we're condensing into one thing. Okay. And so that's one advantage of the class, is our ability to have private variables. These state variables, same thing. Private variables, state variables. Private variables, as in they can't be seen from the outside. Okay, they're internal to the class ball. State variables, as they tell you the state of the ball. Okay, where it is, what its current size is, and how it's moving, the velocity, right? All right, let's make these private variables. They're pretty straightforward. We've done this part a million times before. So private int, we'll have x position and y position. I forget what we named it, but I'll just call it xpos private, and I'll start using shorthands, ypos. And I'll get my keyboard going, and then we'll do private int xval and private int yval. for x velocity and y velocity, right? And then private int ellipse ball width, okay? And private int ball height. Remember, we don't want to use width and height because those are special variables. Actually, I think it might be all right in the scoping of ball if we used width and height, but is that true because it's a different file? I don't know. But we'll just do this so that we don't get confused. We can talk about that in a second. I just don't know how processing does that. All right, so we've gotten our private variables or state variables. And that's the first thing. So the first thing you're always going to do in a class is figure out, so step 1, figure out the private or state variables. Okay? Step 1, figure out the private or state variable. Well, step 1's creating the, okay, let's, if we're going to do this, step 2. Okay, step 1, create the class name, create the class, so that means public class name, and then curly braces, right? And then step 2, figure out the private variables or state variables and add them to this thing, okay? I think that's good for right now. I'll see you in the next video. He said.